Boy, it has been a while. So here it is, New Year's Day, December 31st. I have some thoughts. So I put this thing away and just kind of worked on the Nova for a while. Had redwood, had a lot of things to do, and I was just feeling like I was just spinning my wheels with this thing.
So it's basically telling me that the special throttle body that 99 and 2000 cars had, which mine's a 99, is bad.
So we have a new to us throttle body.
It's actually broken right there.
Oh, good news, I have another radiator. Bad news, I've had this radiator out 4 times now. Took my son to school. That was a successful trip. As of right now, it's been idling for 10 minutes and then took a drive.
So I did a little work on the car today, trying to get the air conditioning to work. Couldn't get it to work. Come to find out, it looks like the auxiliary fan is not working. However, after putting everything back together during my testing, I flipped the AC on and it started working. Essentially, what's broken are these back tail lights and my license lights and the backup lights, which means to me that one of these brackets here is hiding some broken wires. Well, I did find 4 wires that needed to be fixed. The wiring is done. Car decided that it wanted to eat a belt. So down in there, we have what's left of the belt. All right, here we are on the side of the road. We got all the belts and stuff on, filled it back up with coolant. Come to find out, the upper, or the expansion tank has a crack in it. I do have this weird issue that I'll show you in a second with the front fan, and here we are. So ever since the belt came off, the car just kind of hasn't run very good. I have had a check engine light for the intake cam sensor, but the other thing that it's done is it's thrown a code for cylinder number 3 as a misfire. All right, so we went ahead and replaced that one. The intake side, I put the exhaust one back in since it was giving me a weird issue. Well, unfortunately, the test drive did not work out. Like, it runs fine when it runs fine, but like just sitting here at idle, or if I drive and I try to give it any kind of gas, it just stumbles and just runs like garbage. There's a pending check engine light for the same code it had before, which is the intake sensor. I'm putting in sensors that, granted, aren't BMW sensors, but the Hella one should be just fine. I feel like I'm just chasing my tail for something that I don't even really want. Like, I want the car, I don't want this engine. I think at this point, it's probably best we just start planning for the swap and we just park this thing.
Fast forward a year, almost exactly a year since the last video. The check engine lights, I looked into them a little further and it seems like maybe the coils have gone bad. I ordered some coils, they'll be here today. I ordered an alternator because I'd taken, when I got the car, it didn't work. I put one in there. I returned it because I didn't think I'd be, putting any more effort into it and we were gonna LS swap it. So I ordered one of those. It was like $30 on Amazon. It was a used return. It looks brand new. So put the alternator in, we'll change the coils, and we'll do a few other small things. And then we'll see if we can get this thing driving again. I do miss it. I do want it to drive, and should be minimal effort to get this driving the way that it is. Now, is there any other issues? Maybe, probably, possibly, but we'll cover those bridges when we get there. So let's get this thing started. Let's do this. All right, well, before we get too far into this thing, let me explain a few things that have happened while it's been in storage. So as you can see here, we have some ripping and some tearing, and we have some random wires that have been chewed up. So my wife is definitely an animal lover. I love that about her. However, there was a very unfortunate incident of one of her outside cats playing around the car, or possibly chasing a mouse or something. Anyways, long story short, the hood was up to keep the mice out, and the cat kind of seemed like she ran under here, and then the hood closed on her. So she was trapped here for a while and ultimately passed. Super unfortunate, very nice cat. But in the process, she, was struggling and tore a bunch of wires and did a bunch of things. So if you see all this in here like this, this is why. It was really sad, but these things happen. Wasn't intentional, obviously, and I can't get rid of the car just because of that. So yeah, there we are. We're gonna take this stuff out, get the alternator in, go from there. All right, so I was swapping the coils, but I wanted to show you that I got the alternator in and the AC belt on. So before I fired it up, I wanted to swap the coils around. So I labeled them. I was getting a weird misfire on 2, 3, and 6. So I pulled them all out, and number 6, when I pulled it out, probably can't see in there, it was very rusty. So I don't know if maybe when I was washing the engine down, all of it went back there, caused a misfire, but that wouldn't explain 2 and 3. So anyways, I swapped them all around. We'll see if the code chases, but I have new coils coming either way. So
So just showing you, that's what number 6 looks like. So that's not beautiful. So I'm gonna take that plug out and just see what's going on, see if it's even been firing. But that would explain the misfire number 6 for sure. Yeah, so there's spark plug number 6. There we are. Not looking great. It also wasn't super tight. So we're gonna go ahead and clean that off, switch cylinders, just in case, even though it does look like it's been firing at least a little bit. All right, let's start this thing up. There we go. Power steering again. Alternator's out. Charging. Nice. All right. Seems smooth, but typically what happens is it'll run for a few minutes, and then once it warms up, it'll start doing weird stuff. So we'll give it a sec to figure itself out. So if everything runs all right, I'm gonna permanently either solder these or just crimp them with some good crimps. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Well, here we are, up to temperature, and it's doing this weird, like, it will run fine up to any RPM. And then we just let it fall back. It'll sit for a sec, and then it'll fall further. And it's just a rough idle. It's pretty rough too. So I'm gonna pump the tires up, and then I'm gonna go put some gas in it. I'm going to get some butt connectors for those wires and just see if we can figure out, maybe with some gas and the new coils, if maybe it'll run smoother. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we're out driving. I went and got some seafoam. We're at a quarter tank, so I put half the bottle in it. When I get home, I'm gonna put it in the intake track and let it sit for a little while and then fire it back up. It's definitely running rough. I cleared the codes. I'll put the codes that it showed on the screen. It still shows misfires, and I think there's a knock sensor that's going off, which may be, I don't know, maybe related to the misfire. Definitely gonna put the coils in when they get here. They're supposed to be here today, so we'll see if that fixes anything. But I think what I'm gonna do is go home, put the seafoam in the intake, let it sit for a while. I'll do the brakes, because I have front and rear brakes for this thing that need done. And then when the seafoam's done sitting after the brake job, I'll fire it up, take it out for a drive, and we'll see how much smoke we can get out of this thing. But I mean, otherwise it's driving okay. The transmission shifts pretty good, so can't really complain. Well, I just put it in there. I wasn't sure that I got it in the intake all the way, and fired her up, and sure enough we did. So we're gonna let that sit for a while, let it cook, and then we'll come back, fire it up, and see what it looks like, see how it runs. So we got the old rotors off, which it was definitely time. They have quite a bit of grooving on them. I'm guessing they're originals. Everything else in this car is. There's some new ones. We're just doing some semi-metallics, nothing too crazy. Not even sure if this is all going to stay the way it is. Ultimately, with the car, I plan on doing an 8/8 swap, and I don't know if you can keep these brakes. So we didn't spend a whole lot on them, but we got this side done, and we're going to move over to the other side. There we go. We got the driver's side done. Move on to the passenger side before I take it apart. Show you what she looks like. Much crustier. All right, let's do it. Right here is the fronts. Got all done with the passenger rear. So these fronts are not looking great. They could probably stand to have another pad put in them, and the pads have some life left, but the 530 I have as a parts car had brand new brakes and are in great shape other than sitting and having some rust on them. So we're gonna throw these guys on. They are bigger as well, so that's a cool upgrade. These are, I think, an inch smaller actually. So let's get these guys off. That might have been the easiest brake swap I've ever done. It helps a lot when you don't disassemble the caliper and you just take it off the mount on the back. So there's just the bolt there and the bolt there, and the whole thing actually came off as one big unit and went back on as one big unit. So it took maybe 10-15 minutes to do the whole thing. That includes getting the hose attached, which was a geyser, of course. So I'm gonna do the other side, and then I'll have my son come out here and help me bleed these, and this should be an easy swap. And they're considerably larger. I mean, you can really see the difference. Let me get back. You can just visually see the difference. Okay, before I bleed the brakes, I'm gonna start it so I can get some vacuum pressure in the booster, but I can't start it until we get that seafoam out of there. So let's see what happens. Okay, we have smoked out the neighborhood. But it is running now, kind of. It doesn't idle very good. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't go outside. Okay, so we'll get the brakes bled, and then hopefully the coils will show up here soon. We'll get those thrown in, and we'll see what she does. At this point, I'm feeling hopeful. What is dripping? No, thank you. No drips. What is this? What? This is water. Oh, it's that damn sensor again. No sensor, no leaks. All right, anyways. All right, so after the seafoam, this thing seems to be running pretty good. So I actually haven't put the coils in yet. They just arrived at my house. I needed to run to the store for New Year's stuff, but I just drove it here and it seemed like it did really, really well. So I'll probably put the coils in to see if it runs a little bit better, because it does kind of hunt a little at idle, but it is running the AC, and it is a 25-year-old car, so maybe that's normal. But at this point, I'm gonna drive it until there's a problem. New brakes feel pretty good. Nothing really to report there. They seem to be scrubbing in okay. I will monitor them to see if they get any weird lines in them, but for the most part, I guess we're successful. Kind of sucks that I wasn't driving this all last year, but that's what I get for kind of giving up. All right, we just got these high performance ignition coils installed. Actually seems to be running pretty smooth. So I gotta go pick my child up after the New Year's party, and if I have any issues, I'll touch base with you. But right now, she's doing pretty good. She's just running and driving, and no check engine lights, and not hunting at idle. And it is going through some fluids though. It's definitely using some water, and the power steering was empty. But otherwise, I mean, it's driving, so that's an improvement. All right, so I took a few minutes today and went ahead and got these guys all butt connected together and heat shrinked. Now, probably should have soldered, but it's not forever. This is just temporary. This is still getting an LS swap. I have most of the parts. I just wanted to drive it and feel out the rest of the car first. The steering wheel's crooked, and doing a little looking online, it seems like it's not in alignment because the car drives straight. But maybe the steering wheel got clocked off a little bit, so I may be taking the wheel off and recentering it, which is good because I really didn't want to do an alignment until I did bushings. So that would be probably one of the next things I do, is bushings, mostly in the rear, but also in the front. That'll firm the car up, but it'll also get rid of some of the clunking. There is some clunking under acceleration in this thing. But for the most part, now it's just drive it and feel out the rest of the car, right? I mean, there's some window seal issues that need to be addressed. I do want to replace the windshield at some point because it is cracked in quite a few places. There's an unfortunate crack right here that's right in the driver's view. The one at the bottom I don't care so much about, but yeah, it needs to be replaced and then resealed, because I'm not sure what's supposed to be here. There was a big fat like glob of sealant that someone put in here. I don't know if this windshield's been replaced before, but it did not look stock. It actually looked a lot like that. Well, that's deteriorated, but this here is just like a sealant someone put on. So the windshield needs some work. The interior of the car is good. The exterior is okay. The engine bay needs work, and it needs a good paint correction, because while it looks okay on camera, it's definitely got some scratches here and there. There's definitely some scratches on that side. Probably can't see it. Anyways, that's an update. Okay, it's a new day. We're gonna change some things. So here we are in my side yard, and we have the parts car. So what I need is the cooling fan, the auxiliary cooling fan out of the front here. I'll test it and make sure it works, and then we'll do the same on my car. All right, let's get to it. All right, so here's the current situation. We took the other one out, as you saw, and I tried to test it. I ohmed it, and I put power to it. Couldn't get it to spin. However, I think what I can do,
I'll take this one out. It seems like the bearing is bad in this one, but the controller works. You can disassemble these fans enough that I think I can replace the bearing in this one and not use the controller from the other one. It's kind of a lot of work on a maybe, but they're $150, and I don't, you know, I'm not gonna need it for a while, but it is annoying when you drive it with the AC on. And if you don't drive with the AC on, the windows get foggy. So we're gonna go ahead and take this one out. Like I was saying, it's an auxiliary fan. It's not even the main cooling fan. It's only running when the air conditioner is running and there's not enough flow against the condenser. It's just something that is annoying. So I'm gonna try and fix it. Possibly I'll try and fix the bumper as well. So the edges have fallen down. I tried to put a screw in them, but I think over the years they're hammered. I don't know if I can replace that from the other bumper. It would be nice if I could, but this side's not as bad, but it's still not where it should be. Eventually I figured it would be fixed with an M5 bumper, or I don't know. It doesn't seem like people like M5 bumpers anymore, probably because everybody has one. This is fine, but the fog lights are broken anyways, so it's like, you know, it needs some attention. Unfortunately, the 530 that I have has different fog lights, but I don't think they'll work because it's facelift, and this is pre-facelift. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. We're gonna do the fan first. All right, let me see if I can explain what's going on here. So this is the one out of my car, and as you can see, kind of hard to do all this one-handed, but around that shaft, you'll see there's a little bit of space there. On this one, out of the parts car, there's very little, if any, space. So I'm gonna take this stator, and I'm gonna put it on that fan. I did, before I took any of this apart, I tried to put 12 volts to it. Didn't work. So I don't know what that means. Maybe this one, or maybe that one out of the parts car is good. But really all I need is the bearing because the fan works fine. So throw all this together, put it on the car, we'll fire it up and see if it makes a difference. Hey, look at that. Spinning, working, not making noise. So I need to put the guards on it, but that's a good sign. Okay, it actually hadn't done that until just now when I was about to record what I was gonna do. So the bumper fix, let me put this stuff down. All right, so if you look right there, it's basically come unwelded. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat the end of this lag bolt up since it's flat, and I'm just gonna push it down in there and then weld that thing back closed so it should look like, kind of like those, but not totally. It'll just kind of mold all that over, hopefully. So let me do that and then we'll see what happens. All right, well, good news and bad news. Good news, got the grills on, no rubbing, seems to be fine. The melt trick on the bumper did not work. All it did was flatten it out and did not actually stick. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some tech screws, one on each side, and that should do it. I think, I hope. Let's see. All right, well, it has officially started raining, which is annoying, but it's cool. Got my frogs on. Okay, so this helped a little bit. I put another one here. There was a hole. There seems to be some plastic in there to grip too, so that's fine. But this part was really the reason that the bumper was sagging. So I put some Frankenstein on here. Basically, it's stainless safety wire, and I tried to get it up in there as best I could. It's not beautiful. It's just there's not a lot of room to work up in there. And especially once you get it tight, then it pulls that section closed and you really can't get up in there. So I started from the back and worked my way back and forth and did a couple in the front, but it just needs a new bumper. That's really what it is. Oh well, I mean, if you could replace these are separate pieces, but it's not easy to do, and I don't think it's really worth it. I don't know, maybe I could cut it off the black one. Seems pretty stable now. Stable enough. Okay, well, we'll put it back on and see what happens. So we are good here. The bumper is basically okay. I mean, someone put that piece of wood in there just to keep the bottom from flapping, I guess. I don't know. It seems to hold, so I'm not going to mess with it. Maybe could redo the screws. They seem to be a little off, but that's that. Let me get back with you once the bumper and stuff's back on. All right, bumper on. My goodness, what a wet day. Love that for me. One of the other things I was going to do today was try on the M-Pars that I have. I don't think I'm going to do that now. I think I'm going to retire to the shop the rest of the day where it's dry. But the bumper's on. I struggled with the clip. I think I replaced the inner liners with a facelift model, and it moved down all the holes, so I had a real hard time getting everything in there, but I got it. And it's pretty good, all things considered. I think this repair is somewhat functional and at least a little bit better. So there we are until another day on this guy. All right, I lied. There was one other thing. I went to the backyard and checked the hood apron. I don't know what you call this thing. Hood, bonnet thing. Anyway, the other one was in good shape. This one was messed up. Terrible memory. Glad to have that replaced. Looking good. All right, moving on. All right, decided to come out and weigh the car. Give it a little bath afterwards. We'll see what this thing weighs. Ooh, 39.60. That's not so bad. It's pretty close to what the Nova weighs, actually. A couple 100 pounds off. And I got extra space. And an iron 6-cylinder. So I think the aluminum V8 actually might weigh a little less. All right, good to know. I've been driving it all week, and I've had to put probably half a gallon of water a day in this thing because it's all coming out of the plastic expansion tank. Typical BMW stuff. So $15 later off Amazon, we're going to go ahead and replace this thing, get it all squared away. Hopefully that'll fix most of the issues. There is one small leak from the coolant sensor in the bottom radiator hose, but it's really small, and I don't think that's most of the issue. I think the actual tank itself is cracked somewhere. So we'll get this off her, and I'll show you if I can find the crack. All right, well, somebody got a little ham-fisted and broke the plastic. You may have seen it in the video. This whole thing broke out here. It was a big, giant piece. Anyways, if these zip ties hold, we're going to be fine. I think it'll be fine. Nothing's leaking. Have some water in it. Gonna go ahead and start it, get it burped, and should be good to go. Sorry about the flickering light. I know it's annoying, but it's the one from the back door. So as I'm sitting here waiting the car to get warm, I've got this chirp, and I'm pretty sure it's from this top idler right there. So I'm gonna put some 3-in-1 oil on it because I couldn't find anything else easily. So I gotta shut the car off and just kind of get it on the face of it and just see if it does anything. Oh yeah, this thing started hitting the shield again. It's not much, but it is annoying. At least it works, I guess. Maybe I'll just try and cut the bottom of that shield again. All the weird noises. All right, so I was able to get it right where I wanted it, right on the face of the bearing, just in case I can get behind there and rub up against, get in the crevasses. So anyways, let's see what it does. Let me set you up here. Didn't help at all. Maybe it's the bottom one. Maybe it's power steering. Because there is one right there. Alright. Let me just see if I can squirt some in there. With one hand. This is gonna go everywhere.
That's power steering. Although it did get quiet. Oh, nope. Yeah, everywhere. Not my favorite. So let's check the power steering. Well, it's got some flakes in it. I wonder if there's a particular way to bleed those. Probably. All right, let's bleed some air out of the system. Good there. Good there. Okay. Great, this is going well. Thanks for watching. All right, we'll come to find out if you have your phone connected via CarPlay, it will also use the microphone. So I'm attempting to explain that I'm using a wireless transmitter for my backup camera, or I'm planning on it. And I grabbed the camera that came with the radio and couldn't figure out why it looked so weird. So I started really inspecting it, and it just has this weird sheen to it when you look through the lens. So my theory is that there is a lens protector that they forgot to take off. All right, well, I was able to get the camera open, and unfortunately it's glued, so there's no fixing this. But I'm pretty confident, based on what I can see, that there's a lens cover on it. All right, here's a bit of an update. So we have everything run up through under the seat, in through the channel here. It's all tucked back in there. Obviously you can't see it at this point, but it goes all the way. And then I just put the receiver as close to the end out of the way as possible, and then I'm just going to wire everything up. There's just these two wires to connect for here, and then I'll take all this apart and wire up this one, which shouldn't be too bad. It really just has to tie into the reverse lights, which are right in the I think they're like right here, so I'll just have to figure that out. But there we go. All right, well, Amazon hasn't showed up yet, but I have formulated a plan. So I was looking for places to pass the wiring through for the camera, which the barrels are pretty big on these things. Almost half an inch actually on this one. And what I found was that the mount here is probably the best spot. I tried taking this guy off. I tried even looking in through the light. Maybe there's a spot there I could use. There was not. When I tried taking this off, apparently the bolt is so rusty that it seems like it's spinning in the housing. So now this is popped up and there's really nothing I can do about it. So that sucks. Old car things, I guess. So I put that back and said, no, thank you. I'm not gonna mess with that anymore. This panel does come out, as you probably know, because it's a Euro vehicle and typically that's where the plate goes. So they have this insert. So that's all fine. So I took that off and cleaned it, but this is gonna have to be drilled. This is just too big. The camera, that is just too big to fit in there. So I got a 1/2 inch drill bit, and I'm hoping that once I drill it, get this one in, I can still fit this one, the red one, in the power, but I don't know yet. Anyway, so we're gonna drill that and cross our fingers that when Amazon gets here that I needed to do that, because I still don't even know yet. I'm trying to use this wireless adapter. It's got a blue light because it's on, red light because it's on right there. And right now I have a signal, because if I use any 12 volt that is not the backup light 12 volt. All right, so here's the wire that powers the wireless. Here is the white and yellow on the backup light. So I have the 12 volt currently going to the radio, because that's how it's working. But if I go to this other 12 volt, which is for the backup light, verified that it has voltage there, I have no signal. Why is that? Why is a 12 volt tested with a multimeter not, like, it powers on the device, but it will not send the signal, like it's getting interference or something? Does it need to be on a relay? All right, new day. I did not get a resolution on the backup camera yesterday, but I did find that I need to run a relay off the backup light powered off of the back window motor,
Basically, it just sends a weird signal through that tail light wiring, so that's fine. I'll get a relay and wire it up, and that'll be that. But now I am getting the wheels rebalanced. Took them off, threw them in the truck. We're taking them over, get them checked. The front one had probably a quarter of a pound in it. It's a different tire than the rest. It's a cheap Federal. And then the other ones are Continentals, which are pretty nice, but one of them's toast on the sidewall. I think it's that one actually, no. Anyways, yeah, so we'll get these balanced up, we'll throw them back on, we'll get the back complete, put the car back together, and then see how it goes. All right, while the tires that are normally on here are getting balanced, I threw on the wheels that I bought a couple years ago, maybe a year ago. These are Empires. I wasn't sure if, I know they're reps, but I wasn't sure if they would actually fit, because I guess some of the reps have a different barrel size on the actual hub itself. But apparently these fit great. So I think I'm going to sandblast these down to bare metal, paint them silver, and then we're going to have some Empires on this thing, which is a very classic looking wheel. So, but they'll need new tires too, so it'll be sometime in the future. So I didn't show you, but these are chrome, and normally if they were a real Empire, they would have a BMW logo here, and they'd have some markings here, which is an indicator to me that they are reps. And they were in terrible shape. They've been sitting outside or something. I'm hoping that the sandblaster can get through the chrome, and then we can just paint them normal. That would be pretty sweet. They're 18 inch. I think they're 8.5 by 18 and 9.5 by 18 possibly, or 8 and 9, one of the two. These are two 25s that are on here, and these are two 45s. So that'll look pretty nice, I think. Okay, we have got something figured out here. So we have a relay. Yes, I hooked it up as you would typically hook up a relay for like a fuel pump or something. And I think because this car has a bulb checker, it was constantly going, it was just turning on and off like very fast anytime it was activated. And it was activated off of the reverse light. So it was constantly checking to see if the bulb was good, which is probably the functionality that it should do. However, did not work. Also, the camera didn't work even though it did power up, which is probably the explanation as to why this thing never worked to start with. So what I did originally was I used this relay, which appears to be a 30 amp relay, made in Italy it says, or 20 amp on D7A, whatever. When I put that one in there and I used the positive backup light as a switch for the relay, it would just sit here and click over and over and over. And then I said, okay, let me try the ground. Well, yeah, that worked, but it's always a ground, so it just was always on. Didn't even realize. So then I said, okay, let me try this bigger relay. This is a 3040, and I think the coil's strong enough that it just bypasses the bulb checking functionality, and now it's just on when I put the reverse on. So there we go. And the wireless is actually pretty quick. So it's going from this module here to this module, which is not a very long distance, but it is wireless. And then when it's all in the car, it's going to be that same distance basically. So I think I found a solution. So I'm going to wire this up and then put everything back together and see how it goes. All right, we are entering the home stretch. So we have the receiver wired in. We have the wires tapped. I'm going to tape that up even more. And then the inside, the receiver. And then we have the camera. So if you're doing this, I had to focus. I had to chop a little off this corner. There is a channel actually between the plastics that kind of allows a wire to go through, but once it got to the edge, it was getting pinched on the side. So I had to clearance that. I pulled power from this white and red wire here, full-time power. That one's always hot. So the relay, I zip tied up into here, put some double-sided tape on it. The trigger is the yellow and white. The ground is the brown. It's the ground for the camera and the wireless module. And then just zip tied everything and put it all back together, and it works good. So there was a couple things that I had changed on my particular install, and they just had to do with the way the camera was displayed. So I cut the AHD wire, which is orange in this case, and it did kind of increase the resolution a little bit. And then I also cut the guidelines because my radio hasn't built in. So I cut the white one as well, and I'm pretty happy with it. It does take like a split second when you click it in reverse to start working. I'll show you here in a second. But it does work, and it looks pretty good, honestly. Considering it's all wireless as well, I really can't complain. All right, let me show you.
Okay, let's see what it looks like in reverse. So I turned the lines on mine, on my radio, I should say. Strange, it doesn't show in color right now. Before it was in color. It's funny. Oh, there's color. So if you don't like the lines, you can just go. There you go, no lines. Strange is in black and white. Honestly, I don't care so much about it being in black and white as I do about it being crisp and quick. So as much as that's weird because it hasn't done that yet, I'm just gonna roll with it. Yep. Okie dokie. Do you ever like see something and you're like, I should fix that because it could be a huge mess if I ever were to do something. Had my impact right here, had my tray of heat shrink, and now it is just everywhere. So that's cool. Now we get to do some cleanup. All right, well, just an update, putting everything back together. Shouldn't be too much longer. Well, it'll be a little bit longer now that I got this to deal with, but oh well. We're out for a nice drive today. Gonna go help my mom install a stereo. Decided to take the BMW. That's the moment my Bluetooth reconnected. So we took the dog. It was about a 2-hour-long trip. It was nice to just not work on the car and get it out in the sunshine and get it driving. Love driving this thing. Absolute driver's car. So after I did the brakes, I drove the car around for a little while and picked up a weird noise. Have a listen. Goodness, what could that be? That sounds terrible. Might just be that little guy right there. Well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. So I definitely have some lines here, which would indicate there's something in the actual pad, but it stops fine, so I'm not going to worry about it. So we'll kick that rock out and off we go. All right, we had a pretty interesting night last night. Got some snow for sure. But I also got some deliveries of things I need to fix the car. So fixing the coolant leak here, fixing the check engine light there, some brass plugs, and then some oil filters, which I don't need. Air filter. This is thermostat housing, and there's a Guibo in there and a few other small things. So I'm gonna throw that on there. I need to get the car reliable. I am still gonna swap it. That's still gonna happen. It's just maybe not gonna be as fast as I wanted. So at this point, we're gonna focus on keeping it on the road because I do enjoy driving it, and then we'll make it fun later. All right, let's get to it. Here we are getting some stuff done. I'm gonna show you how good this bearing was. Like I can barely even turn it with one finger. Pretty bad. Okay, well, we got a new one here. Sorting a bit, but here we are. So I broke this with a hammer on accident. I was trying to get the fan clutch off because I had to take the fan off to get the thermostat housing off. I got all the bolts out, but I couldn't get it off because it would hit up against the fan clutch. Anyway, so that's been replaced. That hose has been replaced. This is a new one, but it got a new bleeder, and that is a replacement lower coolant temp sensor. And then I got new bleeders here. So we're just bleeding it now, the cooling system. Otherwise, it sounds great. It used to squeal real bad because of these idlers that were blown. We got new ones down there, looking good. All right, so we're gonna let it get up to temp and then we'll go from there. But I'm guessing everything will be all right. All right, we've reached the end of the video. So what are we doing? We are going to LS swap this thing, but right now I need to get my Nova back together. There's a lot of stuff I need to do with that. I don't even have a space to put this in my shop to get it LS swapped. So right now, the best thing we can do is just get it driving on the road because it was parked in my side yard for a long time and it wasn't driving. And now I can at least get out and enjoy this thing. So the last thing I did was I hooked up the angel eyes. I put them on my side markers, which is also the turn signal, but I kind of like that because it's more of an indicator that I'm turning. And it looks good. That fan's still making noise. It's just the shroud. The fan's in great shape. I'm not sure if maybe these just bend over time. I don't know. I'd probably take that shroud off and somebody will get their fingers chewed up. Anyways, I'm liking the car right now. It's riding better. I have a new front tire. I have a touring trunk cover slide out thing coming, and new fog lights, just small stuff, just to, you know, creature comfort kind of things. But for the most part, I'm happy with it. So we'll do an update on the Nova in the next video. There's so much to do there that I'm not even
like in that mode yet. I need to take the rest of the transmission apart, see what the problem was. Tune in next time. I'll try and get you know, the distances between videos a little bit shorter, but it's just been kind of you know, at my leisure, which I kind of like. I don't like being rushed all the time, and it's just nice to take a moment, get back to what's important, as opposed to this just being my main goal all the time. So, happy with the car as it is, but it's definitely getting an LS swap. I need to get some more parts. I'll do a parts breakdown in the next video. And yeah, there we are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. See you next time.